Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Night of the Podcast.
Roger, I have a question for you.
I love it when we start with questions. What is it?
Have you checked out that waitress at the checkout counter? The one who looks 16?
Oh, the one that I've heard on the radio 7 times on loop in the last hour and a half? Why? No, I haven't, because it's a woman and I'm a homosexual. So there's no reason for me
looks
to
16.
Well, she's underage.
Problematic.
I mean, that's... Who sings about that? Who sings... Who's going to sing a song where they're complimenting a woman for looking underage? There's multiple problematic elements approached in this film for the sake of entertainment, but I would say that lyric is probably the one that got me the most.
Well, I could have brushed past it if we didn't hear it 70 fucking times.
It's the only song that exists in this universe. We've had other movies where there's only one song. What's the fucking song This makes me almost think of like a fall break kind of song in a way that it keeps coming up over and over and over. And I know it's a small bumfuck town, but I feel like they've got to have at least a few more tracks at that radio channel. Other than that, and just like religious sermons, that's all this town has to offer.
Yeah, well, I think we're chomping at the bits to get right into this title, Roger. But we have to acknowledge, first of all, it's been a while since we've recorded together. Our fans wouldn't know it because we've released 2 episodes that were exclusive to our Patreon, so for them it seems like we haven't been gone. But God, Roger, it's been well over a month, and we've accomplished so much within that month of being gone. We filmed a fucking movie.
We filmed a fucking movie. We did. And if there's ever a reason for us to step away with purpose, this is it. I think we've been kind of building you guys up to this for a while. You knew it was coming. You've heard us talking about this for a long time. But yeah, Troy and I, over the last month, we just filmed Hollow Lake almost in its entirety. There's a little tidbit that we still have to get. But the majority of the film, the bulk majority of the film has been shot, and what an experience, Troy. How do you feel about that? Just give our listeners a little tidbit, something to go off of. We're not going to overwhelm them with it.
No, we're not going to overwhelm them with it. But God, I'm going to say it exceeded my expectations. The crew and the cast that we put together, I don't feel like could have been any better. Including you, the performances that we got from the cast, phenomenal. I think you can agree to that too. I think we're gonna, I think the film, if nothing else, is going to be hopefully recognized for having one of the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Engaging gay slasher killers that we've seen in any film in a while. And it has a lot to do with the performance of the actor that took on that role. But also, you have to admit, reading the script, there were a few really ambitious parts that that I was worried about. How are we going to pull this off with the crew and the budget that we have? But goddamn, did we do it? We did it in a way that, again, it just exceeded what I could have ever imagined. Not only that, but we had a great time. I was there with you in Ohio for about 3 weeks. Just the camaraderie, the relationships that we all built. Such a positive experience. And I hope it was a positive experience for you. I definitely can't wait for people to start seeing, high quality stills from the film, hopefully a teaser trailer soon. And yeah, that little bit that we still have left to film, it definitely leaves a pit in my stomach. If you want to hear me ramble about it and really explain specifically what the issue was, join our Patreon, because I plan on hopping on there and just going over the experience.
Oh, I'll be there
because
with bells on.
Yes,
I'll be there.
Yeah, because it was something that was
Out of our control.
out of my control. We didn't expect it to happen. It happened. We got to go roll with the punches. So come next month, we're hopefully going to gather the small little crew and our lead actor and get the scenes done so that the film can hopefully be done sooner rather than later. I know that our editor is hard at work and already had, when we left filming, he already had about an hour and 10 minutes of it cut. So working fast. But again, I hope the experience, Roger, for you was as wonderful as it was for me. I mean, that cast, we had such a great time at that isolated fucking house in the middle of the beautiful Hocking Hills, Ohio. That hot tub.
Oh my God. It was exactly what I needed, Troy. It was what I needed. Like, we've been building up and building up and building up to this experience. And for years now, literally, we've been planning this for years. And you've had the script for, how long have we been talking about this? And the fact it actually happened, it's so funny. Like, you build it up in your mind and then it happens. And it's like, oh my God, like, what do I do now with my time? And this is how that felt because it was such a satisfying experience. It really was. I'm not just saying that because I'm on this recording with you. I literally, like, I came out of it and I actually kind of got depressed. Like, I went into a bit of like a period of the blues for like the week following production because honestly, the camaraderie, you're right, the relationships, the friendships that we formed on the set. I would go back in a heartbeat. And one of the things that makes me feel okay about having one pickup, and it is a minor little bit of pickup we have to do. Honestly, I just had such a good experience. I know we're going to rock it out. The situation was completely out of the cast and crew's hands. It was nothing to do with any misplanning on our part. And I know that when we get back together, we're just going to fucking nail it. And if anything, have a little more time to make it even stronger. Because one thing I really appreciated about this team is how much we worked, how well we worked together, solving problems, collaborating, coming up with creative ideas for how to make this thing just the best experience it could be. And I genuinely believe to our listeners, like those of you who've stuck around with us listening to this podcast, I know we stepped away for a little bit, but I think when you see what Troy's created here, I think you guys are going to be so fucking jazzed. Like I'm selfishly, I want to watch this movie as a fan of horror. Not because I'm involved with it, but I want to see it because I know you said ambitious. Some of the things that we pulled off, I got to give it to the team, the crew. Holy crap. Some of the things we pulled off I've not seen done on a production of this scale. And I think it's going to show. I think when you see some of the things that we made happen on this film, I think people are going to be really proud and impressed. I'm proud of you, Troy. For sure, I'm proud.
Well, thank you, and I'm proud that you were part of the whole project
Yeah.
because I don't think it would have turned out as well, and some of the stuff would have never transpired if it wasn't for you. And the last thing I'll say is that we, especially you've done a really good job, kind of taking over the Instagram, social media. I'll post on it, but it's really not my strong point. I don't even think I'd have social media if it wasn't for the fact that I promote the podcast, I promote my films and stuff. So I'm glad you took it over. But if any of you listeners have been, following the Instagram, following what we've been posting about Hollow Lake, you can kind of see, how serious we took the production. But on the flip side of that, I think everything looks so everything we're posting looks so, look how much fun these guys are having. And look how great that, this whole thing looks. And but one thing I want to hammer home is, Roger, I don't think that people are going to anticipate how fucking brutal this film is.
When I go into films on indies, I always set my expectations low because I've seen, like, on our scale, it's really easy for effects to go wrong, for things to just not go to plan. And so you always have kind of a plan B in mind. I don't know how in this film, every kill, the plan A just fucking nailed it. But we got really fucking lucky. The effects, Ron George handling the primary effects department went off without a hitch. Some of the actual technical elements of what we're doing, Mick, especially, we got to give Mick Coons a moment here. Some of the things he pulled off, one pass on some of these scenes. I saw some rough edits and I can't believe what he's pulling off already. So I'm shocked at how far we've already taken this thing and how much further we're going to take it. I know that when it comes to the violence and the gore, horror fans, I don't care if you're queer, you're going to be happy. You're going to get what you want out of this.
Absolutely. So I'm going to transition into, Roger, did you get what you wanted out of 1987's Shallow Grave?
You know what, Troy? So Surprisingly, yes, I did. Surprisingly, yes, I did. Do I have my gripes? Yeah. Do I have as many gripes as I had with long legs last night? Actually, no. No, I have more gripes with long
Oh,
legs than I
we
did
haven't
with
even
this film.
Roger, we haven't even talked about long leg. That's
I
going to be another
know.
Patreon, guys. Stay
I
tuned
That's what
because
I'm
we are
putting that hook out.
yes, we are going to get on our Patreon because I saw long legs. Roger saw long legs. I listen, my initial reaction, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think that the filmmaker Oz Perkins, who coincidentally enough is the son of Anthony Perkins,
Hmm.
he he's a great genre filmmaker. I think both of his films, or he's done three, but the two that I've seen so far, Long Legs and Black Coat's Daughter, I think from a filmmaking perspective have been stellar, like cinematography, tone, mood, atmosphere that the films create. He's kind of a mastering that, and I'm really excited to see him evolve, hopefully in the horror genre. But like I liked it. I did have some issues with it, but man, I think we'll just save it for our Patreon because I haven't even asked you what your reaction to it has been. But I would strongly urge listeners to go out and see it. It's a film that you should experience in theaters, for sure. The sound design, the mood. It's going to be kind of I think a one of a kind experience. Whether you take away everything from the film that maybe it wants you to, that's a whole different story. But my initial impression is very positive, and the more I think about it, I'm going to kind of maintain that. But again, I do have issues with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still going to encourage, and then not just because I want people to join our Patreon, but I'm still going to encourage that you see it in theaters. I'm not, listen, I'm not going to say exactly where I stand in the film. I do have gripes. That doesn't mean I hate this film or even dislike it, not at all. But it is something that should be experienced in theaters because it's simply unlike anything else we've seen before. Unlike this film, which starts very much like about 40 different films that I've seen before, but it does something different. I gotta say it right now.
Yeah, well, here's the good. This is we I think we thrive, Roger, when we do these obscure titles.
Yes.
And I love doing obscure titles because I love putting these titles out there for people that have never heard of them to actually watch. One of my guilty pleasures, we covered several episodes ago, Epitaph, which we had a blast watching that with the cast
Oh yeah.
of HoloLay. Yeah, we had fun. That night was a lot of fun. But I love getting these obscure titles out there because I do think there are several just titles over the course of the years that have just flown under the radar that deserve to have a moment of recognition, deserve their flowers. And I think this is one of them. So we're covering a 1987, although to me it looks like it was filmed way earlier than 87. I think 87 is probably the release date of it, or is the release date of it. But it's a film called Shallow Grave, directed by Richard Stiles. If you've not seen this film, which many people probably have not, it is currently available on Tubi. I would suggest checking it out and then coming back to listen to our review. You had never seen this film. Had you ever heard of it?
I had actually seen the poster art before. I recognized it. I'd seen it. This is like a film that like I've only heard like in passing or seen like in compilations of classic 80s slashers, unknown gems, things like that. But I never actually sat down and watched the film. I had no idea going into it what to expect. And that was honestly for the best, I would think, because like I said, like a moment ago, when you start this movie, you really think you're going to get one thing. And it is a film that delightfully, surprisingly, makes some really bold choices around like the halfway point that kind of take it off into a completely different territory and make this an experience all of its own. And I was really, gripes aside, technical gripes aside, this is a cheap, gritty little movie. You are right. This does not look like it was filmed in 1987. If anything, it looks like early 80s. There's an element of grittiness and grunge to it, the camera quality, and of course this is on Tubi. I don't know, maybe is there, do you know if has this been remastered, has this been re-released? Do we know that?
I don't think so. No, if somebody needs to jump on it, the same person that jumps on Epitaph and gives me a remastering of that, jump on this one too. Because I would say if I had to pick two I don't want to say guilty pleasures, but if I had to pick two very under the radar films from the 80s that I think need to get more attention on, then it is this and Epitaph, which is why I kind of chose this one. But I do kind of agree with you. The film opens up with, I mean, it's a choice, and I would say that if I have two really strong issues with this film, negative issues. One of them is this opening scene, Roger, because I don't think in the history of horror have I seen an opening scene that is so tonally disjointed from the rest of the film.
Yeah, yeah. Looking back on it, it is a surprising decision to open this film on what is like a bit of a comedic note. When this film really it has some light elements of comedy. One of the characters we get to know, Sue Ellen, is cracking little like sexual innuendos and one-liners throughout the film, but it's never heavy-handed. But the way this movie opens, like, I mean, first of all, there is a blatant ripoff. It's not a homage; it's a ripoff that we see here that started the movie on a bad taste for me. Now knowing what this movie is, what they're doing with this sequence, their goal, I think, was intentionally to completely recreate that sequence, as we're about to discuss here in a second. Now, in retrospect, it doesn't hit me as poorly as it did upon first viewing. But when I saw this opening sequence and I was like kind of blown away, I was like, I'm shocked they have the balls to literally recreate frame for frame what is a very iconic scene from another movie. And we're about to discuss that right here because this is how the movie opens.
Yeah, and we've seen this scene recreated many times in different films. We've seen it in like Killer Workout, The Fun House. I think this scene actually is maybe in as blatantly of a ripoff as it is, actually does it the best in terms of trying to recreate the actual shower scene from Psycho shot for shot. This one does it pretty well, but in the grand scheme of things, it ends up not making a fucking lick of sense. The film, let's just say, it opens up with, we hear some girls giggling, and then all of a sudden we get a gunshot, very jarring gunshot with the title card flashed on the screen. Shallow Grave, which right away gives me the impression, oh damn, this is going to be a no holds barred movie, which it is. But then we transition into the scene where are we supposed to be? I was a little confused. Are these girls like outside walking along the sorority house, like looking in windows, or what the fuck's going on here? But they're watching all these. They're walking by the windows, apparently, of all these different rooms in this sorority house where the girls inside are doing various shenanigans. They're dancing topless. They're doing all this shit. When finally they come to the one room with the girl, and we hear one of the girls whispers, "There she is." And then we see this girl inside the room getting ready just to take a shower. She picks up the shampoo bottle, and all the girls that we don't see just start laughing. And oh, she picked up the shampoo bottle. And this girl proceeds to go into shower. And we literally, Roger, get the Psycho shower scene recreated, virtually shot for shot with this broad in the shower. And it's jarring, but it also, like, again, when we find out the whole intent of the scene, it makes no sense. Like, why is this girl pretending? Like, why is this girl like literally look like she's dying to the point of like sliding down the shower wall slowly and reaching for the I mean, this broad looks like she is literally dying, which makes zero sense.
Oh, it is so heavy-handed, and when you realize what exactly is happening, it does make you like stop. I actually paused the movie for a moment, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" And I rewound and I watched it back. And I mean, this girl, shower sequence, tickle bitties. I mean, flapjacking out of the glass. Like, I mean, I was like, "Wow, this girl is stacked. Good for her, man." And that's really all it is because she sure don't get to say much. But Tweeps and Peeps out in the shower. She's getting wet. And this hooded figure approaches, and and I was watching it, and the more it goes on, I'm like, wow, this really is, it's feeling really psycho, like, and then she opens, the figure opens the curtain, and it proceeds to become what is literally like a shot-for-shot recreation of the psycho kill. And you're right, like, she's screaming, you see red running down her in the water, you see this whole moment of her turning and reaching her hand out, exactly like dead on recreating the famous kill from Psycho, to the point that you see the water going down the drain and everything. I think she even pulls down the curtain. And I was just like, wow. I was like, I can't believe these fuckers literally just said, like, we're just doing it. We're not even going to try to like shake it up a little bit. We're just going to recreate the whole thing. And in a way, I'm thankful that it's proven that this is all a prank. because this girl does not die. It is a prank. But like, you're absolutely right. Like, this girl looks like she I don't know if they drugged her or something that's causing her to just sink down into the shower and desperately look into the camera. Like, it really, it looks like they just gutted this poor woman. But you find out she's fine. And I'm like, wow, that was a really big reaction. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I almost feel like this is a scene that they had filmed for another movie, and then they realized it wasn't working. So they took it and they rewrote the rest of the film and just put it in there. Because, yeah, it's totally, the whole opening bit just does not connect. And it does kind of get things moving in the sense of the story, but it's not necessary. Like, you could have done it without this, and they could have still gone on this road trip, and none of this would have been connected. None of this, what happens here, has any real impact on what's to come.
No, and that's my big problem is, I guess it's supposed to be some sort of like character development for our four protagonists, but I mean, when you start a film out showing the four protagonists like scaring a poor girl in the shower to the point where she literally seems like she's passing out, doesn't make them very likable. And I think that's the thing that also is kind of disjointed, because as you follow these girls, as you get past this opening scene, I don't know that I'd buy that they would be so cruel, because for the rest of the film they're pretty likable, low key. But like, yeah, you see this poor girl, you think she falls under the shower, you see the blood running down the drain, you literally think she's dead. However, the next day, the four girls that are become our four protagonists, we have Rose, Patty, Sue Ellen, and Cindy. They're outside of this nun's office when we see the girl that was in the shower getting stabbed come out of the nun's office. Her hair dyed red. Apparently what they did was they put red dye into a shampoo bottle, so when the girl poured the shampoo on her head, it looked like blood. And then Rose comes in with the hood on and pretends to stab her. All because, Roger, because as the girl comes out, she's like, "I'll get you for this." And they say, "Well, maybe next time you'll think twice before trying to steal Patty's date." I mean, I think that's a pretty extreme reaction, don't you?
Oh, this is a stretch. It's a stretch. This poor woman. And not only did they pretend to kill her and convince her for one moment she had died, but also they dyed her fucking hair. And I would be like, this nun, who I wish we had a little bit more of this fucking...
Oh, she steals the show.
This penguin, she's waddling in the room. She's got thoughts and opinions on what these girls did, but she's only there for a fleeting moment. If this happened today, these girls would not only would they be completely expelled, they would not be able to get into any college ever again. Like, it's funny looking back on 30 some years, 40 years late go by, and now the way we would handle an incident like this within a school or in an education setting, I mean, this just wouldn't fly. And she does give them this whole task of like writing this essay. They have to write a 100-page essay on basically on why it was wrong. But like, that's a fucking smack on the wrist when you look at what they did, just pretending to stab somebody to death. I mean, come on.
Well, another thing is, like, it's for me, was it not jarring for you to find out that these girls were in a Catholic school when we just had an opening scene going through different windows of the sorority houses where these girls are drinking and dancing around topless?
Well, I mean, listen, I went to Catholic school, and I can assure you that these are the people that would be drinking and dancing around topless. And I do like that shot, that opening shot, moving from room to room. It is stylistic and a nice way, a nice visual to open on, even if it's just off. But yeah, these girls want nothing to do with it. These are, I don't want to say bad girls, but like, we learned that they're lying about going on a road trip. They're saying they're going to go take care of one of the girls' invalid grandmothers. And they've got this whole lie concocted to get them to Fort Lauderdale.
But why would they need to do that? It's their spring break. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They don't need permission from the nun to go on spring break. So I was like, why are they trying to? I guess maybe to make themselves look better. But like, you don't have to lie. It's your spring break. Go wherever the fuck you want.
But if they're, I mean, I'm not sure like how, when you think of some like education settings, like especially private schools, Catholic schools, spring break doesn't necessarily mean, for some of these schools, the ability to leave premises, to leave campus. Sometimes with these breaks, if they have stricter rules or settings, especially if the kids are away, I don't know if they would just allow these girls to just take a road trip willy-nilly like this. So I'm thinking that that's probably why they have it specified that this is a private university, and these girls are trying to find an excuse to get off campus. That's what I took it as, but I mean, who the fuck knows?
I'll take your word for it. I don't have any experience with Catholic schools or nuns.
Lucky,
so to
lucky
speak,
fucking
so
you.
I know. But regardless, they tell the nun that they're going to take care of the invalid grandmother in Florida, and she's like, "Oh," as they're leaving out the door, she's like, "Where in Florida does your grandmother live?" And they say Fort Lauderdale Beach. And as they're walking out, that nun, best line delivery of the fucking film, Roger. Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Oh my
She
god.
can't believe it.
I'm so mad she doesn't. I was really hoping that she would follow along, like follow. I wish the nun would have like pursued them. Like that should have been a side story here, because that nun, imagine her showing up with a shotgun at the end of the movie.
God, can you imagine her going up against that sheriff?
Oh my. Oh, that's what this movie fucking needed in more ways than one. I'll say it.
So yeah, the girls they leave the school, get in their car, and we get. I mean, how many fucking 80s slasher movies have these car montages that we've seen? You mentioned one, The Mutilator, but then you think of like Evil Laugh. All these ones that have the characters in a convertible just doing shenanigans as they're driving down the highway. But there's a song that's playing that you're wrong. There's two songs in this film, Roger, because there's that one that's something about as they're driving, it's like, put her in a pilot seat. You get Sue Allen saying this. Sue Allen is very much painted as like the dumb blonde, which becomes interesting because I think one thing this film really did well for me the first time I saw it, and even now revisiting it, is like, it ups the stakes quite a bit in terms of who you think is going to survive, right?
Yeah.
Like, who ends up surviving, quote unquote, is not initially who I would think.
Well, I mean, this movie does just a good job in general of like, I wouldn't say going into this, you say, this is the lead girl, this is the final girl, this is the focus. All four of these girls are given equal amounts of attention up until, one by one, inevitable demise. Leading up to that, though, like, I mean, there isn't like a focal girl. They all seem to get like a really fair share of time and attention, and that does make for, as the story goes on, you get to like this group more and more. I mean, the acting is at times a bit wooden. It feels very 80s, but there's a lot of personality here. And like, you're right, this is the montage to end all montages. Like, they are driving forever. I feel like we're watching this road trip in real time. Like, this road trip, like, they get pulled over by multiple cops. Like, I don't understand. We didn't need to see all this, but like, do we get a good idea of the kind of relationship between these girls? Yes. Like, that Rose is like the really loud, outspoken one. You know that Patty is maybe a little bit more uptight. She's the smart one. And so you do start to get a good understanding of their personalities. And I do feel like even the girls who get the least time on camera, I feel like I do get a really nice fleshed out idea of who these girls are, what motivates them, where they fall within this social circle, so forth and so on.
Yeah, we got to acknowledge the 80s fashion too. Whew.
Oh my God, Rose. That's me.
You're definitely Rose. I got it. You know what? Hey, here's another thing. You know me, and I have to, you horror fans, 80s slasher fans, I hope to God when you watch this that you recognize who Rose is, because she is actually one of my other favorite 80s slasher films, Hide and Go Shriek, which we covered, Roger, many, many moons ago, almost 4 years ago. We've been doing this podcast almost 4 years. She is the character who is like the nerdy one who all of a sudden halfway through the film does that elaborate strip tease that rivals anything Demi Moore did in the movie. Like, all of a sudden this high school nerdy girl knows how to do this fucking stellar strip tease. That's who this actress is, Roger.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see she's working. I'm thrilled to see that she's getting more projects. Has she done anything other than those two films, though?
Probably not.
Well, good for her. I mean, what a resume. Because I enjoy both of these films. I enjoy this one, and I will say Rose, I would say, has some of the more limited time out of the four girls. But the time she's on camera, she's quite a good time. She's fun to be around.
Absolutely. You do get that moment in the montage where Sue Ellen said, "This is going to be the Guinness Trip of World Records. I'm gonna beat my previous record of getting 28 dates over the course of a weekend." I'm like, good for you, girl. 28 dates. Woo. That's a lot. That's That's a lot of dick to take.
Sounds like me in my 20s.
Wow.
It sounds like me every week.
Wow.
That's good for her though, man. She's looking good. She's looking tight. She's wearing that like bright blue crop top, her abs showing. I will say, like, this cast overall across the board, there's some good lookers. If you're looking for hoo-hoos and ha-has, the broads, they're looking good. If you're looking for some swinging meat, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, this film does not disappoint.
Oh, but Roger, not. Oh, you're talking about the females. What about the fucking males?
know.
Oh my fucking God.
Good God. I mean, this film has some of the hottest men I've ever seen.
Yes, I almost orgasmed numerous times watching this film. I mean, it is the two main guys. Well, actually, all of them. Fuck. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there because we get introduced to two of them here in this next scene. Because after this long fucking montage, they stop at this roadside barbecue, where there is a moment that I think now really doesn't necessarily age well. It's when that heavyset black gentleman gets out of his car and he kind of walks by the convertible. And he does stare at them kind of uncomfortably, but like Rose right away, she's like, you could tell she's like scared and she's like, oh my God, I'm not going in there. It's like that kind of stereotypical, oh, I'm going to be afraid of this black person that's giving me, you know, an eye. I was like, that maybe doesn't translate so well now.
Yeah, and it really like is the only character with any color representation in this film, and he's used to be like a menacing presence, and he does nothing. He does absolutely nothing at all to these poor women, and it feels very dated. But I wouldn't say this film is like chock full of moments like that. This is, you're right, probably the only moment that has kind of that weird taste that it leaves.
So the other two convince Sue Ellen and Rose to go into the restaurant. So they all go in. It's just like this little dive barbecue place. When all of a sudden these two young guys show up in another convertible, and they get out, and immediately Rose and Sue Ellen literally like orgasm themselves over these two guys. They are like, I mean, their jaws are on the table. They're like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. I need both of them. I mean, these broads are horny. And I do like that it kind of flips that little trope on us, because generally in 80s horror films, you know, it's usually the guys that are the ones that are like painted as like super horny and they're seeing women and drooling. We get that with these two girls, and I'm like, good for them, because these two boys, yeah, I can see why.
Oh, you mean Chad with the puffy full lips? I like him. Mullet and all. Oh my God, they're both hot. And I get it. Like, if I was sitting in that diner looking at that rough crowd, and then those two pieces of tall glasses of water walk through the door, I'd be throwing myself at them as well. And they look really good, and they're surprisingly nice. I will say, if I have like a character gripe with this film in general, it's that these two characters, these two guys, again, they don't really serve a purpose. I mean, they have like a story that's kind of like woven in and out, but it doesn't come in enough to have a full impact to make it feel like they really have a reason to be there, other than to be pretty to look at, to be honest.
Yes, remember at the beginning I told you I had two big gripes with this film. One of them is the opening scene. The other is these two characters and how basically they're set up for one purpose, and you think it's going to go one way with these two characters, and then it's just totally abandoned, and they end up, you're very correct, these two characters end up unfortunately being very pointless. And I say unfortunately because I like the characters. These two guys are generally nice guys. The actors do a really good job making them likable. And it just killed me that it set up like one way. You think, oh, they're gonna save the day, and it fizzles out, and again this whole subplot with these two guys becomes pointless.
Yeah. I mean, like, I wouldn't even say that either of them are necessarily bad either. Like, maybe Chad's a pinch wooden. The other one, Owen, is that right? Owen, the blonde.
Owen, yeah.
He's actually quite likable, but they have, as the movie goes on, you keep expecting that they're going to be thrown something to do, and they just don't get it. And I wish there would have been some like conclusion with these characters. You listeners, you'll find out when we get to the end. There's a big aspect. There's a big element of this finale that leaves something to be desired, and we'll really get into that more. But these characters, like, when you meet them in the sequence, you think that they're going to have some kind of a big impact, and they just don't have it.
No, unfortunately not. But they do make friends with these girls. Because right away Sue Ellen sees them when they come in and she sees that Chad has the Michigan shirt on. So she asks him, "Oh, Michigan, is that something to do with wolves?" And it just leads them into small talk where they talk about like where they go to college together. And it leads to them discovering that both groups are headed to Fort Lauderdale for spring break. Sue Ellen suggests they should caravan, but they can't because they have to stop at Owen's sister's house. So they make this whole arrangement where they're going to meet in Florida the next morning at 9 a.m. For breakfast. The guys get their order and take off. And there's a moment where before this happens, Sue Ellen does get up to excuse herself. And we find out, when the guys leave, Patty's like, "Oh, those guys aren't going to show up." And Sue Ellen takes out Chad's wallet. So we find out that she pickpocketed him. She has his wallet so that she can ensure that they will actually show up the next morning.
I mean, she ain't stupid. She's a dumb blonde, but she ain't stupid. And I think that's one thing with Sue Ellen's character is like what the words that come out of her mouth. You think she's a fucking idiot, but oftentimes she proves that she's one of the more resourceful girls in the group. I think even without knowing it, I do like the development of as her character like goes on as she evolves. I like her character more and more because at first you really think she's the bimbo. You think she's gonna be the first to go, and she surprises you. And this moment, I didn't expect this from her.
No, but she's going to ensure that they're going to show up. And hey, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. These two, they hit it off right away. Everybody. So these two would be a good little group to hang out with in Fort Lauderdale together. So we cut to the morning, and now they are driving through the small southern town, Roger, of Medley, Georgia. They stop at a gas station for gas, and as they're there, like we see like this pickup truck drive by, and everyone's in the back with guns, in air and everything. And the attendant tells them that it is the first day of hunting season. So the whole town, Roger, is excited because they finally get to go out and hunt.
Oh boy. Lucky us. This is another element that I thought would come into play more. Like when you tell me it's going to be hunting season, I was like, oh God, these girls are going to be hunted down by a bunch of rednecks with rifles. Like I was expecting it to go one way. Barely comes into play. It is a bit of a plot device because there's this whole weird moment with this gas station attendant when they drive away and he like runs after them like, oh boy, like it's so awkward. Like there's this really awkward little bit where it's like it's supposed to feel kind of comedic, but it feels really heavy-handed. But it does come into play. It's hunting season, so like after this, the gas station's shutting down. It's no longer operating. There's a sign on the door. But I thought they were going to come back to this a bit more. I thought they were going to touch on this a bit more. It doesn't affect. It's not like a motivating factor for the killer or anything like that. Again, that comes completely out of left field.
Yeah, I guess metaphorically, when you're thinking about what happens in the film, the fact that it's hunting season, maybe they were trying to make a connection there, but I could be stretching it a bit. They get back on the road. There's some banter about paying Patty to write the essay for $1 a page. I don't know, just more montage of driving, and banter while driving. When suddenly, Roger, out of the blue, they get a flat tire. The car spins out onto the side of the road, and they're from this point forward, like they're pretty much stranded because while Patty says she knows how to change the flat tire, when she opens the trunk to get the spare, it's revealed that Rose took the spare out so that she could fit all the luggage in the trunk.
Oh, I love this little moment where Rose, like, the car breaks down. Within seconds, Rose removes her shorts. She's now in, like, a bathing suit bottom, smoking a cigarette, sunbathing on the car, as the rest of the girls are going to, like, replace the tire. And then they're like, where's the spare? And she's like, I couldn't have fit all that luggage in there with that spare tire. I'm like, atta girl, Rose. So they're all fucked now. They're all in a position where basically they're stuck. And so one by one, each girl kind of, like, figures out like what they're going to do. Rose is just going to lounge there and smoke cigarettes. We've got Patty, resourceful, who's like, I'm going to go back to the gas station, sensible. And you got Sue Ellen, who there's this run-in theme that her bladder's the size of an acorn, and she's pissing. I mean, this girl, like a fucking racehorse. I'm thinking she's got a yeast infection because the amount of times this girl has to pee over the course of this film, it's unnatural. It's problematic. It's worrisome. And so but she refuses to piss outside, which is like, girl, come on now. So she finally sprints off into the woods to pee, but I'm like, holy shit, like you have already peed collectively more times over the course of the last 15 minutes than any of these girls have gone in the last 3 days. Like, what's going on, Sue Ellen? Who you been banging with the big horse stick that's got you with the yeast infection?
Well, I mean, she's trying to beat her record of 28 guys in the course of the weekend. So is it any wonder why she might have a fucking bladder or yeast infection?
That sounds like Troy and I at Fun Hog. You, me, and Sue Ellen at Fun Hog.
Oh my God.
28 guy record. Which one of us is going to get it first?
And I want to go back to Rose because I would say at this point, 90% of her lines become, I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette. It even leads to her demise. The fact that this broad needs a cigarette so bad.
I get it though. I mean, like, that's me and marijuana. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stressed. My car's broken down. I need to light the fuck up. It's the first thing I think of.
So we then cut back to Owen and Chad, who pull into a convenience store for food, even though they're supposed to meet the girls for breakfast. Owen runs in to get food and drink. This is when Chad pulls out his wallet and finds that his money and ID are missing. And he has a note from Sue Ellen in the wallet saying, this is to ensure that you will meet us for breakfast. I mean, I guess this is an important little scene because it does explain why these two guys kind of refuse to just go on to Fort Lauderdale without these girls, right? Because they have Chad's ID and his money. He's going to need that. So, I mean, I think this was kind of a clever little moment to insert because otherwise it would become quite unbelievable that these guys would keep, worrying about these girls and trying to find them. Correct?
Oh yeah, and the way that Chad sits in that fucking car, I'm sorry, it gets me hot and fucking bothered. He's got his leg up out the window, his thigh exposed, and I'm just like, oof. Even the way you sit in that vehicle gets me hot. So yeah, I mean, anytime we can go back to those guys, I'm fine with it. Is it really going anywhere? No, not really. But it is leaving this element for you as the viewer. At least as the story is progressing, you're like, oh, so now we know these guys are going to come back into play. Is it far fetched? Does it make sense that they know exactly where to go as this progresses? No, but at least they do give this whole little bit with the wallet. It does give it at least one element of why they would be so insistent, like you said, of going back and looking for these girls.
Well, we cut back to the girls, and Sue Ellen and Rose are just being insufferable. Sue Ellen is whining about having to piss. Rose is whining about needing a cigarette. Patty is getting the fuck out of there. She's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to walk back to the gas station. So you just stay here. And Sue Ellen finally shuts up, and she goes into the woods to pee. And all going into the woods, she's like, oh my God, what if there's snakes? What if there's creatures? It's like, just bitch, shut up. Just go piss and shut your fucking mouth because I am already tired of hearing you whine. So as she's in the woods, Roger, she starts hearing moaning, soft moaning. And of course, this horny bitch, she kind of picks up on exactly what it is. And she goes into a clearing and she sees on the ground, there is a man and a woman going at it, Roger. They are going at it.
And this man is so fucking hot that when he stood up and revealed his hairy torso and his just sexy fucking everything, I went, oh, like I gasped when I saw him. Hot. This guy, Dean, the character Sheriff Dean, by the way, is one of the sexiest guys we've seen in a movie to date. I'm going to put it out there right now. I cannot believe, clothed, unclothed, shirt open, shirt button, it doesn't matter. So incredibly sexy, it is distracting. But what comes from this reveal is when the movie starts to take flight. Everything we've seen up to this point has felt very by the numbers. Like I said, I thought I was going to be able to predict this. I thought these girls were going to stumble into a town where there are redneck hunters who are hunting random visitors and something. I don't know. I thought it was going to go one direction. What happens here with the sequence really blew my skirt up. It takes a completely different direction, and it works in the film's favor. And what they're about to do, how they're going to set up the antagonist, the motivations behind it, really kind of ups the ante for me. It ups the stakes significantly because as we come to learn about this character of Dean, I mean, this is a manipulative and dangerous individual.
Yes, he is unhinged. He's ruthless. I'm wondering, like, how did this man ever get to be sheriff? And then I have a whole lot of questions about Dean. Yeah, and you are right, Roger. This man is absolutely like gorgeous. I mean, this man is sex, just oozes sex appeal to the point like you are right. It's distracting. But one thing, that I think that is interesting is that we really don't get a lot of like backstory about Dean. And as you're watching this film and you realize just how brutal and ruthless this guy is, like I have lots of questions. I mean, has he done this before? This can't be the first time he's just murdered innocent people because he does it so like nonchalantly. He's not bothered by it. So I don't know that I am saying that I really wish we would have got more backstory about Dean, because I do think the film is effective in showing that this man is just a monster on a mission. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the film made me think. Like after the credits rolled, I was like, oh my god, I need to know more about like Dean. Like this can't be the first time he's done something like this. So I think it's a very interesting choice of characterization for this character, because we really don't get much story about Dean at all.
Well, and what's really surprising to me, the actor, his name is Tony March, and aside from being just so handsome, he just has such a presence on camera. And it's surprising to me that, he does have, several films on his resume, but overall, like none of them are anything that like are anything too memorable. And I'm just surprised that this guy makes for such a strong presence on camera. I mean, like when you first meet him, when you first see the situation, when you discover this, what is an affair that's happening, that he is meeting this character of Angie, a bar wench, who he's railing in the dirt, like literally taking this woman to fuck her on the ground in the middle of the woods. And she's smitten with it. She's head over heels. And as I would be too, if a man took me to the woods and fucked me in the middle of the dirt, I too would fall in love. And understandably so. He's stunning. But when you first see this interaction, like it does not feel like it's going to go awry, and as quickly as it does. And so you learn that he's married, they're having an affair, he starts dodging questions, and Angie starts to get upset, and Sue Ellen is witnessing all of this, and this gets out of hand real quick. It escalates really fast, and I feel like what he does here, his decision, it feels unhinged, it feels unexpected, but it also feels like this is something that I don't necessarily know if he's done something like this before. I think he has it in him, but I don't know if he's done something like this. But I do think that he's realizing, because she's threatening, I'm going to tell everyone, I'm going to tell your family, I'm going to tell your wife, I'm going to ruin your life, I'm going to make sure you lose your job. And his act basically what happens, his action here, he kills this poor woman right in front of Sue Ellen. He chokes her to death and breaks her neck. It does feel like a moment of, it's just impromptu. Like he's so overwhelmed. She's threatening him. She's screaming at him, and he grabs her and he handles her so roughly that he snaps her neck. And I do feel like what he does from here, while I think he's unhinged, I think that this is something that is maybe a little more suppressed, and he is now in a place where he's having to some extent, save his life from absolutely falling apart. Everything he does here is motivated in the hopes that he is not discovered, that he is not found out. So I don't know if I look at this guy and think this man is a killer just for the sake of killing. This is a man who is killing to basically cover his own ass. And it makes him seem very threatening and despicable, but also rather cowardly that he would put these poor girls through what he puts them through, because his instincts are completely selfish. His motivations are completely self-driven. They're self-motivated. And so it does make this character seem all the more dastardly and cowardly because of it. But just because he's cowardly does not mean he's not scary, threatening, or intimidating. This man is actually quite threatening, and makes a great opponent to go up against these girls.
I guess if there was a moment in the film where you sensed some sort of regret from him or some sort of he feels bad about doing this, that I might buy that he possibly hasn't done it before, but the way he's so just cold about it. I don't know. I mean, we don't get an answer, so it's just something that I was thinking about as the film was progressing. Is I wonder if this guy's done this before. But like, yeah, let's get back to this lady that he's railing in the woods because I'm not saying she deserves it. She goes from 0 to 150 in a matter of like 3 seconds. She is screaming at it. I'm gonna ruin you. I'm gonna tell your wife. She should have toned it down a little bit because she can tell he's getting like really upset. And you're in the middle of the woods where nobody's around with this guy, and you're egging him on, like, honey, calm down. He tells you he's like there's a couple points where he's like, just get in the car, just get in the car. And she's and she slaps him. Again, I'm not saying she deserves it, but like, tone it down.
Well, one thing I gotta say, like, I'm surprised by once the story picks up, and at this point it really picks up. I actually think the script is quite good. I think it makes a lot of really bold, strong choices in the sense of how the story develops. But this character, Angie, one scene, other than her being a dead body, you don't get a lot of her. But as the film progresses, her character gets brought up. And the way she's brought up, the way she's discussed, especially the way the sheriff talks about her. He talks about how how she's leaving town because how sad her life is. How there's another character who seems like he may have some attraction to this character, to the character of Angie, and Dean very much kind of starts talking down about her, like, why would you want to talk to a woman like that? She's just a bar wench, like, and it's very deprecating, and so I feel like it's interesting that he's railing this woman, and then it seems that other than that, within the town, she's almost kind of looked at. I don't want to say it's the town whore, but a little bit of a fuck up. Like, even he goes to her house at one point, and she's living in like a fucking rough little pillbox of a room. Like, it just seems like this woman is probably somebody who is desperate to get the fuck out of here. And when she does flip out on him, if you listen to her dialogue, it's pretty well constructed because she's like, you said you were going to leave your wife. I've waited for 2 years for this. You said you were going to get me out of this shithole town, and I have been waiting. And every time it's the same fucking thing, and I'm done. So while they don't give you a lot of her character, as you do listen as the film develops, there's little tidbits there that really seem like this woman would be a sad soul and would probably be desperate to get out of this fucking shithole town. And that makes the relationship between him and her all the more secretive, all the more hush hush, and probably all the more offensive for her. Why he would be hiding her from everybody. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. But I mean, yeah, he snaps her neck. He basically attacks her, throws her on the ground, and in a moment of pure anger, he breaks her neck. Unfortunately, Sue Ellen witnesses this, and she runs away. There's a moment where, of course, in good slasher fashion, she has to trip and hurt her ankle. So the rest of the film, her ankle is out of commission, and she's limping around. So Patty, we cut to Patty, who arrives at the gas station, and she goes to go into the gas station, but there is a sign on it that says "Gone hunting." So when the gas station attendant says the whole town literally goes hunting, he definitely meant it. So we cut back to Dean, who is shirtless now. He's taken his shirt off, Roger, and he puts Angie's corpse in the truck, and she's sitting in the passenger seat, perfectly still. Now, I do like this creative transition because as we're looking at the corpse of Angie sitting in the passenger seat, it slowly fades into Cindy back at the convertible in the same position in the car. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, I love that fucking transition. I wasn't expecting something like that. There's such an element of artistry to that. And every once in a while, this film, again, very like dinky little indie film, but like the amount of dolly shots in this, that's something else. Every once in a while, it surprises me that it seems like they were really trying to make the best film they fucking could with this. You know what I mean? On a small budget, you could tell they at least cared about the craft. And you get a few moments like this really great transition where you see some of that quality come through. And I really appreciate that. It's not like they're just like doing a hard cut and you're on to the next scene. That was a really intentional, planned out transition that worked very well for them. It's a really cool little moment.
Yeah, I really dug it. But her and Rose, they decide that Sue Ellen has been gone a long time, so they need to go into the woods and look for her. So these two broads go traipsing off into the woods. I mean, yeah, from this moment on, from the moment that Dean kills poor Angie, I mean, this film, I think, kicks into high gear and just doesn't let up. I mean, things happen at such a rapid rate that you cannot say that this film suffers from pacing issues at all. Because I mean, we're in it now. Because I mean, Rose and Cindy stumble upon him as he's digging this hole. And Cindy sees him. She's like, hey, can you help us? Because our car got a flat tire, and unfortunately, we don't have a spare. Rose goes up to the truck because she sees the woman, Angie, in the passenger seat, and she starts asking him for a cigarette. It's at this moment, though, that she realizes, oh shit, this woman is dead. So she goes back to Cindy at the same time that Dean pulls out his gun, his service pistol, and fucking shoots. I mean, there's no hesitation, Roger. There's no chance for. I mean, he pulls that gun and he fucking shoots Rose.
He shoots her twice. He shoots at Rose
I
twice.
know.
Oh my God, what a moment.
He shoots her as she falls to the ground. She gets back up, and as Cindy goes back to try to pull her away, he shoots her a second time, and this time we see the bullet hit her head and just blood splatter everywhere, and she falls to the ground. I mean, I think upon a first time viewing, this is probably pretty shocking, right?
Oh, absolutely. And not just in the execution, but it's in the abruptness of it all. This is a moment in which it hits you like a freight train, and it's all the better for it because you've been building up and building up and building up. You know something's going to have to give. You have this whole moment where Sue Ellen is, now lost in the woods. She trips lamely, sprains her ankle, stumbling around, gets lost. He hears her moving, so he suspects there's someone there. He starts digging this shallow grave. There we go. And these girls just like stumble upon it, like they don't even think about it. And he stands up and turns and watches them as like the one as the I think it's Cindy is calling out to him, asking him questions. Rose goes over to the car. She's talking to the broad like she can, like she's just fine. Of course, you wouldn't think this body's dead. And the moment she realizes, like the moment she puts it together, what's happening, there's no time to react, and it feels so authentic, like the way this moment happens, the fact that Rose is just within seconds, Rose is dead, like she doesn't even have a moment to respond. And that shot where you see her head get hit, when she gets shot in the head, you see the blast go off, her hair blow up as she drops, falling on top of Cindy. It is really an impactful moment, and it really got me excited. Like once I realized what was happening here, once I saw the direction this was going, this moment specifically got me so pumped. It launches into a chase sequence. You've got two girls on the run because Sue Ellen's still running around not knowing what the fuck's going on, though I thought she'd hear that gunshot, but still, like, she and Cindy are now on the run. Rose is dead, and it kind of launches into full gear from this point moving forward, and it really doesn't let up. Like, this film is kind of an adrenaline fueled, like, experience of like suspense and intensity, and it really does a really good job of keeping the momentum and the tension building, and in a lot of different ways too. It's not just with like these big suspenseful sequences, but also like the character manipulation, the fact that you as the viewer know certain things that other characters do not. So for you, the experience is just about to pick up and become something really awesome. And I'm excited for people who have not seen this film for the first time, like myself, because this point in the movie really took me by surprise, and it got me jazzed to complete the experience. It really is an exciting scene.
And it's one of those things where I think, yeah, this is definitely an edge of your seat thriller. And the fact that it's like, it right away it establishes that, I mean, all bets are off. Like I think at this point, there's points in this movie that are so like a sense of dread because the situation that these girls are in becomes so helpless. There's not much they can do with, particularly because this guy is the sheriff. And yeah, I mean, from this point forward, it's edge of the seat because Sue Ellen makes it back to the car before Cindy does. And she calls out for Rose and Cindy. Nobody's around. For some reason, she goes back to the trunk and she pulls the keys out of the trunk, but then she doesn't really do anything with them except this moment she sees Patty coming back up, and she runs to Patty to tell her what happened and what she saw. And Patty then takes her and heads back to the gas station. At the same moment they're walking down the road, Cindy gets to the car, and she tries to find the keys because she remembers that the keys are in the trunk, but when she goes to get the keys, they're gone because fucking Sue Ellen just took them. And she does see Sue Ellen and Patty walking in the distance, so she cries out for them. Why she doesn't start running towards them, I don't know, but she does not. Instead, she calls out for them, and then she goes to honk the car horn. My ass would have just started sprinting right towards them. She does not do this. She goes to honk the car horn, and all of a sudden, she is grabbed from behind by Sheriff Dean, and he literally strangles her out right there on the side of the road.
Really great sequence. I love how everything is timing out. A lot of the instincts for a lot of the characters seem very well thought out. Like when Sue Ellen grabs the keys, it's like she's like, "There's no fucking way you all are leaving me," you know. So I get why she would do that. And that moment, there's this moment where you have her and Patty reconnecting, and Patty has a really likable energy to her character. She's definitely I would say almost like the dead mother of the group in a way. And she just seems to be really wanting to take care of Sue Ellen. And I like the energy between the two of them. And this whole bit of Cindy getting back just as they're leaving, you know, and I think it's because she's been sprinting through the fucking woods. She's getting her breath. So she goes to honk the horn. Though you're right, I would have tried to make a full sprint myself, but my fat ass wouldn't have been able to make it. I would have gotten killed too. But you know, the fact she gets choked out like that, I'm normally not a fan of choking scenes. I feel they're kind of lame, but in this case, he's trying to not make any noise. You know, in this case, he's trying to be quiet because they're a scream's distance away from there. So he chokes her out with the sheer strength of his arms. It's just looking so manly and burly as he kills this poor girl. And it's actually a pretty intense sequence. And again, there's not a single girl in this cast I don't like. So seeing any of them pass is sad. But you know, after Cindy had this big fucking chase sequence, she almost made it, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer to see her go out like that.
Yeah, it really is. She's disposed of pretty quickly. Her and poor Rose. We didn't get enough of them. But when they're walking, Patty is asking, "Did you see anything else about him? What did you see?" And Sue Ellen's like, "Well, I know he was just finished screwing her." Patty's like, "No, no, no, I know, but what did you see?" And stupid Sue Ellen, she's like, "Well, I didn't see anything about size, if that's what you mean." This broad, even in this moment, she's thinking about dick.
Oh, even in moments of like intense fear or like sorrow, Sue Ellen manages to crack like a sexual innuendo one-liner, and I love that about her. Like there are multiple times that she makes like references to like penis size in the middle of like moments of fear. I'm like, that's relatable. Like I would be doing the same thing.
So we cut back to Owen and Chad. They're at a restaurant. They're waiting for the girls. The girls are extremely late. Owen's tried to convince Chad that, you know what? Yeah, you're a fucking little stud, but even you could get stood up, as evidenced by what's happening. And Chad isn't convinced. He's not convinced. He says, "I don't think so because she still has my ID and my cash." And Chad's like, "You know what? We're going to find these girls. Come on." So Patty and Sue Ellen, they get back to the gas station. Patty tells Sue Ellen to stay put while she looks around. There's a phone ringing inside. Now, right as the phone's ringing, Patty notices that there is a dog leash tied to the side of the gas station with a food bowl and water bowl, but the dog is not there. And she hears that Sue Ellen basically picks up a brick and bashes the gas station window out with it. And Patty screams at her, "No!" But Sue Ellen already has her hand in there, and she is literally mauled. Her arm is mauled by this fucking dog.
I really like how this whole scene plays out. And again, you know, in indie film, there's certain things I'm sure they couldn't show, like a dog mauling an arm, but they managed to do it in a way that it still feels like you get like the full experience. I really love the moment of Patty turning the corner. She's looking around, investigating her surroundings, and she sees the water bowl, she sees the collar, but she doesn't see the dog. And that's all it takes for her to turn around and have that great moment where she's like, "Help!" Like she gives this great reaction just as Sue Ellen busts the glass in. And of course, Sue Ellen, who has seen the most of these things right now, is just desperate. So it makes sense why she's doing what she's doing too. But yeah, you don't see the dog at all, but you have this whole moment with her arm getting mauled, and it's actually pretty intense. Patty works quick. She grabs a rock and throws it through the other window to distract the dog. And when Sue Ellen pulls her arm out, it's fucking mauled. It's mauled. So it looks really good. I really like this moment, even though they couldn't show the actual attack.
Yeah, if anything, the actress that plays Sue Ellen, she's great at like these moments where she has to project like pain and anguish. She does a really great job. You really feel for her. And especially in this moment, she is like screaming her fucking head off as this dog is just mauling her arm. But yeah, she finally gets it out of the window. Patty has no choice but to sit there and console her as her arm is like bleeding out. We get a moment where we cut back to Sheriff Dean tossing Cindy's body into the shallow grave alongside Angie. Unfortunately, we see that his wallet falls into the hole under the body of Cindy, which does come back into play. It does come back into play.
Lots of good little details. Lots of good little details. I saw this too. You see it and you know it's going to have to tie in somehow. But it's such like a small, minor detail overall, not like a heavy-handed moment. And I appreciate that. One thing, like, we're about to get into the cop element of this film. And like we see a lot of movies where we're like, oh, it goes into like almost a police procedural. And I don't like that. And it takes away from the film. I feel like this film, like when it brings in the cop element even further, it actually kind of elevates the film. You meet another character here in a second. You meet the character of Deputy Scott, who's very different from Dean and kind of a fucking idiot. But as it goes on, he becomes more and more well-intentioned. But I love how, like, because Dean is sheriff, he really uses his position to manipulate things in his favor. You see just how smart he is, and you really start to realize how he has the character of Scott like under his thumb. But I do appreciate like this, first thing you see, this cop comes into play, and these poor girls are immediately looked at as being like criminals. like these poor girls, like if I stumbled upon this scene and I saw this girl with her arm mauled by a fucking dog, even if she had tried to break into a location, she would be getting rushed to an emergency room, she'd have her wounds tended to, and then she'd be questioned. This fucker just takes these poor girls to a prison cell and like lets her wounds just like out, like unaddressed. Like it just makes no sense.
But he gets out of his cop car and he walks up to him, and we get that nice pan up to reveal his face. And God, if we thought Dean was hot, him and Scott together, whew, damn. But he says to him, "Y'all better have a good excuse or you're going to jail." And he takes him to fucking jail. And they're trying to plead with this Scott guy that Sue Ellen saw a murder. They're trying to plead with him. Sue Ellen's like, "I saw a murder." He does not believe them. He says, "I don't even know if you were really with two girls." They're put into a cell as Scott radios the sheriff. The sheriff tells him, "I did come across that car. The only thing they're really telling the truth about is they did have a flat tire." So yeah, the girls are put into the cell. There's graffiti written all over the walls that they start reading. Sue Ellen just gets a kick out of it because it's like calling like one of the townswomen a whore. I'm like, she's always finding joy in all of the little sexual innuendos that she can.
Let's talk about this prison. The fact it looks like it's out of like the 1830s, like Western, like prison set, like with like metal bar windows. It's a little bit exaggerated. I know it's a small town, but even a town that bumfucky in that era, I don't think would have looked that fucking rough around the edges. It does become a prominent location in the film. We're in the cell quite a bit, and we're now in a long stretch here where Sue Ellen and Patty do kind of take on the roles of the two leads. The other two girls are now dispatched, and we're with these two girls for a minute. And I really like these two together. I think even though Sue Ellen is a bit wooden, her acting is a little bit stiff, she's still like, there's something really likable about her. And you're right, like her moments of fear are actually really great. And Patty is just like a take charge personality who really, in a way, encompasses the traits of what is the final girl. which makes the progression of this film all the more surprising, to be honest. But I like these two together. Like they're looking out for each other. They're working together in unison. They have each other's backs, and I just like the camaraderie between these two, especially in the moments of survival.
I would agree with you, and I think yeah, they become. I mean, they become each other's rocks. They have to look out for each other, and there are moments where they really make really great decisions. It's not for like lack of trying. Like what happens to them isn't for lack of trying. It's just luck as it may be wasn't on their side in a lot of this stuff. The sheriff returns to this police station, and I guess this is the first moment the audience realizes, oh my god, this dude is the sheriff. He wants to talk to the girl, so he goes into the cell to ask which one saw the murder. Sue Ellen is the one that's like, it was me. She tells him what she saw, but she tells him at that moment she really can't say what they looked like because she didn't get a good look at either of them, which I don't know. I thought she got a pretty good view. She wasn't that far away.
Yeah, but in the sake of the story, and like even as this is building up, like there's so many little points where you hear Scott mention the sheriff, and when earlier in the film, like you saw Dean running through the woods putting his shirt on. God damn, he looks so good. But you see the badge, so you start to put these things together for yourself. But yeah, it's not until this moment coming up here that is actually revealed who the sheriff is. And he's smart. He has his sunglasses on. It's very strategic, so he's covering his face. But the way this starts to progress as everything falls into place more and more, and that he has a full control over the situation. He's really manipulating the scenario to make these girls seem like the criminals, so that way his plan as it unfolds leans hugely in his favor. And this is really when he starts to just, I mean, he's killed somebody already, but now you just start to see his clockwork. You just start to see how maniacal he truly is, and the threat factor elevates it raises the stakes so much when you realize just who he is within this town.
Oh, he's very manipulative. He tells Dean at this point that these two are lawbreakers and they're unreliable, so you can't believe anything they say. And he chimes in and kind of plays off of what Dean said earlier about, we don't even believe that you had two other girls with you. How can you prove this? And they tell him to look in the trunk. They had all their luggage in the trunk. So he takes the two girls out of the jailhouse and takes them to the car shop to check the trunk. And of course, when he opens it, it is empty. There's no luggage in there at all, which makes sense because we do get a little moment earlier in the film that we didn't mention where he does find the car, obviously, because he just killed Cindy by it, and he does pick the trunk lock open. So he is definitely a couple steps ahead and definitely making everything look as bad as possible for these two poor girls.
Yeah, and like we mentioned with Scott, he's well intentioned, but he is gullible, and he trusts the sheriff. Like he really like. As this goes on, he even says he's like, he's the sheriff. He would never do something like that. So it's clear that he has like an element of power. Obviously, he's the sheriff, but like just overall, the people in this town, like you can tell that his word is gold, and you can get an idea that what he did, the acts that he did to Angie earlier in the film, I don't think anybody in this town would ever suspect that he's capable of doing something like that. So he does have like this alternate persona he puts on as the sheriff, but he has a temper, and that does get the best of him. And one thing I do want to acknowledge, as he starts to get worked up, the sheriff does kind of time and time again lose his cool. And that is something that Scott starts to pick up on. While Scott is gullible, he's not stupid. And I like this dynamic between the two of them. It's a very interesting card to throw in here.
Yes, because you are right. There are moments, several moments early on in the film when we are introduced to Scott, and when the girls are mentioning anything about the sheriff, that he does say, "Oh, the sheriff would never do that." And when Dean comes back into the to the station for the first time to say that he's going to go talk to the girls, even Scott makes the comment, "Oh, Dean, how did we get blessed with such a smart sheriff?" I mean, he is obviously as smitten with the sheriff as we are, Roger. He really thinks that this guy can do no wrong. But as the film progresses, and you are right, we do get little moments of the sheriff losing his cool, making comments that seem to paint him as a little bit unhinged. And I think the actor that plays Scott does a really good job with these moments because you can see in his face like little pangs of realization.
Yeah, well, he's handsome too. I gotta say, Scott is also a good-looking guy.
Oh my God, that's when yeah, he's gorgeous. Like I said, give me fucking sheriff and deputy porn with these two.
Ooh,
Jesus
a
fucking
blonde and
Christ.
a dark, like you got your dark-haired, like dark brunette sheriff, and then a soft blonde. I mean, you know who the bottom is in this relationship.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it right now. I hate to point fingers, but I mean, you know who's taking up the poop shoot in this situation, and it ain't Dean. It's
No.
definitely gonna be Scott.
Well, so there's a moment where Deputy Scott is walking through town, going into various shops and just asking people questions. Hey, have you seen four girls? And we get that like just obnoxiously loud sermon
Oh my
that is
god.
kind of becoming like, it kind of becomes uncomfortable because it's coupled with what's going on in the town. It's like, ooh, this is really uncomfortable because the mayor is on there giving a sermon about how holy Medley, Georgia is and how it's such a town of morality. And we all aim to please God here in Medley, Georgia. All of us we would just want to worship God. And it's like, ugh.
I almost have to say that I feel like some of these montage bits, it feels like they didn't get the audio, and so they had to cover it. Because, like, there's these moments of the sheriff walking through the town, talking to locals. You're getting a montage of the town. You're right. You have this really, like, long, drawn out sermon. It's not the first time, too. During the earlier car montage, you got that as well. And then you get a really long one later. So it is a running theme, but like it's not like you ever meet the mayor. It's not like any of this ever comes into play. So it feels very like I don't want to say it feels like a bandage. Like I'm sure this was intentional, but it doesn't. It feels like heavy-handed. It feels a little forced. How overwhelming, how loud, how boisterous these sermons are over this like basic montage of just people interacting. So it almost, like I said, it almost feels like they like maybe lost the audio for some of these sequences or something and had to come up with a creative way to cover it. Because it's successful, but like it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, yes, I get this is a religious town, but that's not explored. Like, it's not something that like you don't, these girls aren't being hunted down because they're whores or anything like that. It's the religious elements that exist within the town are not explored beyond these sermons. So it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to enhance the film by telling me this? What you're not giving me really a plot device. So what's the purpose of having this be such a moment?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only moment where the sermon becomes somewhat effective is here later in the film with a scene with what happens to Patty. I do think that makes that whole scene even that much more uncomfortable because there is that heavy-handed sermon being played over what's going on. But we will get to that scene. Deputy Scott does get to the bar where Angie worked, and he kind of flirts with that big-haired broad with that thick accent.
Oh, that's my
I
gal.
know, I knew you
That's
would.
my gal. That hair, Troy. Whoo! I saw her and I was like, this is the star of the show. I was hoping she'd get a chase scene.
But this is that first. This is the jukebox is playing that waitress song, the one who looks 16. And he's talking to this woman, and she's like, "Oh, Angie hasn't been here. She didn't show up for work this morning." So Scott goes back to the sheriff's office to tell Dean, "Hey, these girls may be onto something because someone is missing, and it's Angie." And of course, Dean's reaction is, "Oh, that whore, she's probably laid up in a bed somewhere with some truck driver."
Well, and this is where I have to give the script some more credit. I think, like, as the film goes on, this is a really cohesive script. Like it's tight. It makes sense. It flows well, and I really like we talk about these moments with these little moments of Angie, who again very minor character, but she keeps coming up as an element of importance. And we've seen a lot of movies. Characters die, they never get brought up again. It leaves you with all these questions. You don't have a lot of questions with this movie. Like it's really thorough. It's giving you everything you need to know, and it there's these little character motivations that they keep injecting. Like, again, Scott's character, they keep bringing up these little things that he mentions in his dialogue that make it clear that he has a thing for Angie. So his motivation to be concerned for her when he goes back to Dean and he brings it up feels all the more believable. Like, not only is there a girl that didn't show up for work, but he also has a thing for her. So when he brings it up to Dean at first is like, I'm not going to look for someone who just didn't show up for work, but Scott kind of pushes it because of his attraction to her, which is just alluded to. It's not like hitting you over the head. And so it kind of makes Dean have to like start covering his tracks with that as well, because right now Dean's worried about dealing with these girls, but fuck, he still has a dead body. He has and a woman who's going to be missing, and so he has to cover those tracks. So Dean's trying to put out a lot of fires right now, and that stress is getting to him, and I like that.
Oh, well, he does he does make a little comment to Scott about, I don't even know what you see in that woman. She's just a whore. But he does agree, because he does know that, I think Dean's smart enough to know that Scott is not going to let this go, right? Because he does have feelings for Angie, because even though that big-haired waitress tells him when he talks to her at the bar, she even says, "You still have a thing for her, don't you?" So yes, it's very well established Scott has a thing for Angie. Dean knows he's not going to drop it. So Dean agrees. He's like, you know what? Fine. I'll go to her place, check it out, see what I can find. And Dean and Scott's like, okay, thank you so much, Sheriff. Well, Dean does go to her fucking place, Roger, but not for any good reason, because what he does is he gets her suitcase, packs up all of her shit to make it look like she left town, goes out on the outskirts of town and fucking burns the suitcase.
Oh, I really like this moment. Like this film, there's a lot of audio blips. It's definitely not perfect when it comes to the audio, but this sequence, it's really stark. It's set up against. There's no score. It's just silent. The only thing that you hear is the sound of kids in the park playing, like down the street. You hear them laughing and having like a great time, and it's really unsettling as he's packing this woman's belongings up, smelling her perfume. Obviously recalling his connection with her. And then there's this hard cut to him burning this fucking luggage and taking off as that song comes on again. And that song kind of becomes synonymous with her when you think about the waitress talking there at the cash register, whatever the song's about. And she was like the barmaid that he was obviously having this affair with. So that song, I think, in a way almost represents her. So the way it's utilized in this moment specifically, I think, is really kind of chilling.
Yeah, even though she doesn't look 16. But no, so at the jail, Scott is making the girls lunch, and he burns his hand. And Sue Ellen's like, oh my God, you know what? That wouldn't happen if you just let Patty cook it. She's a great cook. Scott, I think, Scott is a great character. Yes, he starts out being very like aggressive with the girls, and instead of getting Sue Ellen help for her arm, throwing him in jail. But I think as things transpire and things are going on, he does realize these girls are probably pretty harmless, and I think he does believe that they're not involved in anything nefarious, because he agrees. He lets them out, and they all they cook lunch together. They're having just a nice conversation. We cut back to the two guys that keep just like, oh my God, it's Chad and Owen. We have to always be reminded that these two are still in the picture somehow. They're trying to figure out like where the girls could be. Chad concludes, quite too conveniently, that they must be in Medley, Georgia.
Oh, much too convenient. Way too convenient. Like, these girls are real lucky that these boys are working overtime to fucking find where they are. Like, I mean, listen, for me, getting a new idea is a pain in the ass. Losing a couple bucks, that sucks, but it's not worth hunting these broads down, especially trying to fucking like pinpoint on a map where I estimate they're going to be. How do I even know they stopped? Like, why would I think that they even didn't like keep going on with their journey? They stole my shit and made a run for it. So yeah, this is definitely something that does seem a bit forced. And especially because, again, it doesn't necessarily conclude to anything. So it's kind of like, why? Why are you kind of giving these guys this much time if it's not going to have the payoff? But like, okay, whatever. If they're looking for him.
Well, this is the moment too, because it's like Chad is so insistent that they're going to go look for these girls, because Owen does make the comment. He's like, you know what? You know where they actually are? They're probably on the fucking Fort Lauderdale beach where we should be. And Chad's like, nope, we're going to look for. And it's like at this moment, you're like, oh my God, these girls have hope. These two hot boys are going to be like the heroes of the film. Or, it bothers me that these characters end up being so fucking useless. It really does. Back at the sheriff's office, Dean comes back and he is not happy that Scott has these girls out. He's like, I leave for a minute, and what do you do with these two prisoners? You have a party? You're partying with them? And Patty tries to object. She tries to apologize. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. And he says, You just keep your mouth shut. And at that moment, because if we remember back in the woods, when poor Angie tells Dean that she's going to tell his wife, that is exactly what he says to her in the exact same way. Sue Ellen immediately recognizes his voice as the killer, and she hones in on him at the same moment that he realizes he just fucked up. And now that she knows that he's the one.
Oh, Troy, love. I love this moment for so many reasons. Like, I mean, I buy it that she didn't get a clear look at this guy. Okay, I'll buy it. This moment, though, the way he gives himself away, that is just so well handled. That push in on her face when she realizes it, the moment on his face when he realizes that she realizes it. I mean, it's a moment. It's a great fucking moment between all of these characters, and nobody can say anything because the girls know if they speak out right now, the deputy's not going to fucking buy it. He's going to think that these girls are the criminals, and and flip that, reverse that. For him, he can't really do anything about it without planning it out thoroughly, because right now he's got to find a way to get rid of these two girls and make it seem like it's not his fault. And so, honestly, man, like, I loved this moment. I thought it was a really well acted, really well delivered sequence.
Oh yeah, I think it's a very, very, very strong moment, and the audience is like, oh fuck, because we know she just gave herself away to him too, and now they're just in this kind of situation like, what the fuck are they going to do? He demands that they go back into the cell, and at this moment, when they get back into the cell, Sue Ellen's like, that's him, and Patty's like, what are you talking about? And she points, she's like, he's the one that killed that woman. At the same time, Dean is out there trying to convince Scott that the girls are bad. He's like, they could have killed you. You need to be more careful with them. They're bad news. They possibly could have killed, they could have killed Angie. And Scott's like, well, what did you find out about Angie? And he says, you know what? She ran off. She took all of her belongings. She probably ran off with some drifter. And his wife calls him, and he's going to head home to get something to eat. And he turns to Scott very sternly. He says, I'm warning you, you better fucking be careful with those girls.
Yeah, this whole interaction between the two of them, it's very clear that that Dean is trying to keep his shit together, and his way of handling that is by intimidating and talking down to Scott, which in the long run, Scott is trying to pick up on. One thing that I found intriguing, because there is a moment here where, like, Dean has a call waiting from his wife that Scott's trying to give him and everything, and that was a really intriguing side story that I was hoping we would get exposed to, the wife, the relationship. I mean, that would have added just another layer for Dean that I would have loved to have seen. We don't get it, but that's just something there that I found really interesting, because, everything that's been building up around this kind of came from this affair he's been having. So I'm curious what his relationship is like with his wife. Is he feigning a perfect relationship at home? Or is this something where he's like so fucking miserable that he's banging this fucking broad in the woods? Like, I'm just curious what that dynamic was, but you don't get it. But it is something I was hoping that we'd get a little bit, and I was sadly a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, I mean, you get a brief moment of his conversation with his wife where he does seem like he's a little bit more I don't want to say subservient to her, but he's definitely way, way, way more dialed down when he's talking to his wife. He's like, yeah, honey, I know. Yes, that sounds great. I'll be home for lunch. And he does leave. He ends up leaving. And at this moment, that fucking hunter, that old man in those overalls.
I think his name is Eli. Is that his name?
Eli. It is Eli. I love Eli. He's just your stereotypical Southern overall wearing, hunter. He has his little golden retriever with him who starts digging, and he walks up. He's like, what'd you find, boy? And the dog starts digging, and that is when all hell is going to break loose, because these bodies are about to be discovered. And we cut back to the cell where Sue Ellen is literally having a breakdown because she's realizing, oh shit, if he's the sheriff, he could have very easily hurt Cindy and Rose. We find out though that we cut back to the sheriff. He's in his truck. He's not at home. I wonder if he did go home, and this is supposed to be after he had lunch, because now he's at his truck parked and he's having flashbacks of hearing Angie, screaming at him and him telling her to shut her fucking mouth. I guess this sort of is a moment of maybe him feeling a little bit regret. I know I mentioned that earlier, that I would have liked to have seen, at least some regret from him but maybe this moment is supposed to be that, but it doesn't last long because he's interrupted with a call from Scott to tell him that something horrible was just found in the woods, and it sounds bad. And you can tell right away the sheriff is like, oh shit.
I didn't necessarily take that moment as him regretting so much as I felt like, honestly, it was him starting to spiral. Like I feel like one thing we don't get a lot of is just how unstable is the sheriff's mental state. Like, he's calculated, he's willing to kill for himself, but is it because of is he starting to kind of lose his shit? Or does he have a solid, strong grasp on things? And this moment of him just sitting there in the car with his head back, recalling what happened, everything that was screamed at him, it does feel like he's like, oh my God, this is starting to pile up. Like, what do I do at this point? That's how I took it. Like, he's like, oh fuck, like I'm getting in over my head, but I gotta fucking figure it out. And as soon as he gets on that fucking walkie, he takes control of the situation. So yeah, I don't know. I think that he's becoming more and more intimidating because, I mean, pretty much he knows that unless he doesn't get this together real fast, he's fucked. The stakes are high for him right now, real high.
Yeah, I buy that because I don't ever get a sense that he really regrets what he's doing throughout the film, and in fact, sometimes it seems like he's really like enjoying it, or at least just so calculating with how everything is turning out, that I really don't ever get a sense of, oh, I'm like him being a true compassionate human being. This guy is not. So, anyways, so he tells Scott to go check out the woods to find out what was found, even though he knows exactly what was found. He's going to go relieve him at the jailhouse, so he'll watch the two girls. And at the same time, he takes out his gun and is like literally admiring his gun. Back at the cell, Patty says, she's like, Sue Ellen, you have to tell somebody. And Sue Ellen's like, who am I going to tell? Like, who's going to believe us? It's the sheriff. She says, I know that he realizes that I'm the one. She says, I know that he realizes I know it's him. We realized it at the same time. Just then, we hear kind of keys jangle. Patty's like, Scott, don't leave us. It's not Scott. It is Sheriff Dean. He comes in, unlocks the cell, tells them that they are going to go for a ride. And he tries to handcuff Sue Ellen. But this is the moment where I again, we talked about these two girls having each other's backs and being a little bit smarter than a lot of 80s slasher victims we've seen, because Patty is not having any of this. She actually picks up a chair and bashes him in the head with it. And they run out of the fucking jailhouse. Bold move to bash the sheriff in the head with a chair, but I really know Patty knows exactly what's going to happen if they don't get the fuck out of there.
Oh, absolutely. And this was a moment where I was like, fuck yes. I was like, atta girl. Like, her character has consistently been really resourceful. Though neither of them have really made any fuck up decisions in my mind with this film. I think they're both pretty capable. But specifically Patty, like, she, as soon as she realized that he's manhandling them, because he comes in pretty physical, he starts to grab at Sue Ellen, and the moment that happens, she breaks the chair over his back and they take off running. And I love like what comes from this. I do like that they run outside, they see this truck that just parked right there, and I'm like, God, just take the fucking truck. Not saying the keys are in it, but at least fucking check, because they just take off on foot. And I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea where you are. You're in the middle of this fucking bumfuck town. The sheriff knows this place like the back of his hand. But it does add, another great adrenaline infused sequence coming up here.
Oh yeah, this whole final chase scene is pretty intense. Scott gets to the woods and realizes that the group of volunteers have dug up the shallow grave to reveal that 3 bodies are there. Eli's like, do you recognize any of them? And Scott says, yeah, the one is Angie, and I have a really good idea who the other 2 are. At this moment, Dean radios Scott to tell him the 2 girls escaped, and he needs to meet him with backup. Scott's like, no, we should stay because of what was found, Dean. Like, this is really, really bad. And Dean's response is, you listen to my orders. They're probably the ones who killed Angie. Which I find really interesting, and it's another moment of realization for Scott, because Scott never tells Dean that Angie was found dead. So how would he know that?
Yeah, well, and Scott is really starting to pick up on things here now, and we do see this come together. It all culminates as we break into this great chase sequence. Though I don't know how he catches up to them so fast. I'm assuming he took that fucking truck. But you got the two girls running through running towards the woods. They're heading towards like the bluffs or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know. They're heading, they're heading for the woods to make a run for it, and he's on foot after them with a fucking shotgun firing at them, and it does like really give you this great intense moment. It's not too long lived in the sense of like him with the shotgun chasing after them. It's pretty quick that Scott comes back into play here. But you do get a couple really good scenes coming up here, specifically this moment we're going to have here with Sue Ellen in a second.
Well, yes, Patty makes it out to the road. Like she gets onto the road just as Scott drives up, and he gets out of the vehicle and pulls a gun on her. And this is the first moment that Patty is able to tell Scott it's the sheriff. The sheriff is the one that killed the girls. Well, lo and behold, the sheriff then shows up with his shotgun, like out aggressively towards Patty. And you really there for a moment, and I think even Scott thinks there for a moment that the sheriff is going to shoot Patty right then and there.
Well, and Scott steps up here. He steps in, he helps her up, and he kind of holds her, and for a moment, I think even Scott's like, holy fuck, like the sheriff is so unhinged right now. I feel like he's going to shoot me. And there's like this great stare down where the sheriff finally kind of snaps back to it and realizes I can't fucking do this. And he says, I'm going to go get the other one, get her back to her cell. And so Scott is still listening to the sheriff, which is worrisome, but he's definitely aware that there's something off here. There's something more going on.
Yeah, well, back at the grave, the bodies, are finally removed, and this is when Eli finds the sheriff's wallet. He's like, oh, the sheriff must have dropped, or the deputy must have dropped this, and he puts it in his pocket. Put a pin in that. Back at the jailhouse, Patty is trying her best. Bless Patty's heart. You really start to, I think at this point, you really, really, really have grown to like these two characters, Patty and Sue Ellen. So watching them go through this horrific situation, just the stakes are amped so high up because you do like these characters so much. She is desperately trying to convince Scott that Dean is the one that killed the girls, because she even tells him, why would we kill Angie? We don't even know her. And he says, no, I've known Dean my whole life. Look at those trophies. Would somebody that won all these trophies, would he be a murderer?
Yes. What does that have to do with it? I mean, there have been very skilled award-winning people who have killed out varieties of awards, major awards. So that's nothing. That does not sway me at all, my friend. Again, Scott, gullible, sweet, well-intentioned, but not really thinking with his noggin.
No, sexy but dumb as a bag of bricks.
That's how I like him, Troy. That. I like him dumb. Pretty dumb.
Well, now we cut to this whole intense scene with Sue Ellen. She does come upon a barn, and you know me, Roger. I love a good fucking barn scene.
Oh, you love them.
I do. She runs in and hides into this barn, and it's broad daylight. We keep in mind this chase is happening during broad daylight. Generally, I would not like a chase scene in a barn in daylight, but this one actually really, really works well. She hides behind a bale of hay. Sheriff comes in, and this is pretty intense, and it's drawn out. I love that it's drawn out because it is really suspenseful. He is stalking through this barn, shotgun ready to blast her away, looking in all the nooks and crannies. He slowly goes up to the loft of the barn, looks for her there. She is like terrified when all of a sudden she sees that fucking snake sitting there. That
this
damn
poor
snake.
Woman, Troy. This poor woman has been through everything. I mean, she's been put through the ringer. Like, I mean, she's been sprained her leg. She's been mauled by a dog. She's now having to face off against a fucking boa constrictor or whatever the fuck that is. I don't know, a rattlesnake. And this moment, like, as if things can't get any worse for her. She's watching through the floorboards as he's, going up the steps. And I really thought he was going to look down and see her. But no, lo and behold, there's a snake. And, I mean, good on her for keeping her fucking mouth shut while that snake's just sitting there screaming at her. Like that snake is just like, nah! Like, and she's She keeps her cool, and and of course it leads up to this great conclusion where he walks right up. You think he's going to discover her, instead he blasts the snake. Did the snake really get shot? Could you tell? I couldn't tell. What was that, a real effect?
I hope it was not a real snake. It's this is I mean, we've already witnessed a snake being murdered on screen in the original Friday the 13th. I hope this film had the common sense to use a rubber one, but he does blow it away. So yeah, after the snake is blown away, he goes outside to the search party who's out there, and he tells them very aggressively, he's like, "You need to find that little hussy. And you know what? Shoot her on sight because she's dangerous. That's an order."
And they're all fine with it. They're like okay. They're all like take their guns, like like load them up, and like
I
okay.
know. I'm like, they're not even, yeah, they don't even have qualms about like shooting this poor defenseless teenager. I mean, this is, or a young college student. They're going to blow her away because she's supposedly dangerous, running around in her fucking crop top and miniskirt. Come on. Come
Oh my
on.
god, yeah, like she looks so threatening. Like she can really take on all these men, guns or not. This does lead to this really nice moment I like of Scott in silhouette, sitting in his office, shadowed, as he's sitting there, obviously contemplating everything that's going on and questioning everything. And this is another really nice sequence that you can tell they put some thought into, because it's this really nice slider shot as it moves around the desk and reveals him just sitting there, like really just like deep in thought. And I thought it was a really pretty moment.
Yeah. Well, he's replaying in his mind, because at the same moment, the Dean does radio Scott at the jail and tells him to come out to head the search party. That he's going to come back to the jail, and Scott considers this, and you can tell he's really contemplating, and he just, in his mind, he keeps playing over and over Patty screaming at him, "Why would we kill that woman? We didn't even know her." So I do think at this moment he is starting to, I mean, even before this moment, but this is another moment where he's starting to really, really question what's going on in the sheriff's like spin on everything. So he has to go and he has to head the search party. This is when Patty, she's in jail. She's back in the cell. She wakes up to someone coming into the cell, and she thinks it's Scott. She's like, "Scott, is that you?" And lo and behold, Roger, the radio gets turned up to that fucking preacher, and it is Sheriff Dean. He unlocks the cell and he comes in. And I mean, the sense of helplessness that comes across her face. And I think we as the audience are like, oh shit. I mean, what is she going to do? He doesn't immediately kill her. And the scene kind of starts out one way where you're thinking, oh, okay. Because what does he do? He tells her to take off her clothes.
He has this fucking moment where he unbuttons his shirt and reveals that fucking chest, and it just lingers on it. And I swear to God, I mean, I splooged right there. I couldn't help myself. No, but seriously, for being like, I mean, this is like a rape sequence, and it almost gets like kind of erotic, which feels uncomfortable because it shouldn't, because it's a rape. But there's this moment where you see Patty, I think, like in her mind, she almost accepts like he's gonna fucking rape me, and she's like, whatever it takes for him to not kill me, is the vibe I get. And so she like lets him approach her. You see her hands like place atop his arms, like she's allowing him to start to remove her bra, and it does become very helpless and very sad because she's not putting up a fight. She's almost just like letting it happen. And then what he does to her is just kind of awful. It feels really, really tragic.
Yeah, it's really oof. But yeah, that moment when we linger on his chest, oh my God, his sweaty, hairy chest. I'm like, holy, did a gay man direct this? I need to know. Yeah, because I was like, this had to be a gay director. Like he exactly knew what he was doing. But yeah, he's very like in this moment, like he's very gentle with her too, and he unbuttons her, he starts to unbutton her blouse, and he leans in, and there's this long drawn out moment where they're getting ready to kiss. Like their lips are getting really closer and closer, and you can even see her face is like she's just kind of resounded, this is what I got to do to survive. And then within a split second, Roger, I mean, out of nowhere, before their lips touch, he takes her bra and like wraps it around her neck and fucking strangles her to death with it. All while this loud sermon is playing over this radio.
I mean, and it is loud. It is a loud fucking sermon. And I wasn't sure, like, I wasn't totally sure, for sure if I was going to be a fan of this kill. But the way, when you realize how he's utilizing this kill, and what comes from it in this great reveal moment here shortly. Wow. I mean, not only is it really like just kind of cruel and sudden kill when he chokes her out with his fucking bra, chokes her to death with it. But then he's make it seem as though she killed herself because she knew she was guilty, and she hung herself from the fucking prison. And it's just such a sad way for this character to go out. Like, I mean, she has been fighting hard this whole time. Like, Patty has stepped up to the plate. She's done a great job. I really thought she was going to be the final girl. And for her to go out in such a moment of just like defenselessness, and it's sad. It's cruel and it's sad, and I felt really bad. I really did.
Yeah, the reveal of her hanging from the jail cell window and him just watching there, just staring at her, kind of admiring his work, is quite disgusting. And it is, like you said, tragic end for this character, who again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I was definitely taken aback by who ends up being like the final girl, because by all accounts, it should have been Patty, and for her to be taken out like this, in this moment that does seem very, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a rape scene, but it's a film very erotically. It's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I felt really bad for this character. But at the same moment, Roger, he's washing up and cleaning, and who shows up? Fucking Owen and Chad.
Oh my God. You know what? I really thought this moment was going to build up to something huge. And it's kind of shocking to me that they let this just drop off. Really, like, this could have been such a great moment of revelation, but there is this great little sequence here that like is so well played. And I got to give this moment credit.
The moment where Owen is like walking towards the jail, and he's getting ready to see the body, and he turns around, and like there's a whole conversation between Owen, Chad, and the sheriff, and all Owen had to do is like literally turn around to see Patty hanging there.
Yes.
But the sheriff like pulls him away. Yeah. It's a great, that's cool. It's a little moment of suspense, but like, what the fuck was the point of them going to the sheriff's office? Like, you are 100% right. This could have led to something. Like, this could have led to a confrontation. Could have, hell, even if you wanted to up the body count in this film, these two could have had met their fate.
Yes.
But nothing comes of it. Like, the sheriff's literally like, I haven't seen no girls around here. You guys better leave. And what do? They fucking leave. That's it. They leave,
man. And like, you're exactly right. When you say body count, like, I was like, you got these two guys. You don't have any men die in this movie. Like, when you think this is a really cruel movie against women, I would have loved to have seen at least one of these guys go out, because like, or else why entangle them in all of this? Like, why bring them into it? Like, it sucks because I don't dislike these characters, but this really is a subplot that could have been completely eliminated, much like the opening sequence, and had no impact on the story they're trying to tell. And that just bums me out because I wanted it to have impact. There is so much potential. There are so many things they could have done with this finale. We're building up to something that, like, I'm excited to talk about. I think, there's a really satisfying climax to this film, but it does something that really left me kind of shocked and surprised and kind of disappointed. And it's coming up soon, but it directly ties into how they're left off, which is literally they're told to leave the prison, and they do. They get in their cars, they drive away, and then that's that, and it doesn't come back into play again.
No, and even as a moment of like hope, it comes too little, too late, because by the time these two guys show up, everyone's dead except Sue Ellen. So like, the stakes are just not there with these two. And yeah, I am super puzzled by the choices made with these two characters in this film, because yeah, they leave, and then we cut to the search party. Sue Ellen running through the woods out of that fucking barn. When this search party approaches, at the same time, like, Scott shows up. But the search party, Roger, they immediately open fire on this girl, and she gets shot in the leg.
Poor fucking Sue Ellen.
Oh my
God, this poor woman.
This moment is heartbreaking because Deputy Scott yells at the guys to put their firearms down, and he runs up to her, and this poor girl, she is just, I mean, screaming, crying. She's like, please don't shoot me. I didn't do anything. Please. And you feel so fucking bad for her. So bad.
Especially because she really has, like, been put through so much. And all she did was see something she wasn't supposed to do, and she didn't even necessarily, like, she didn't even get a chance to try to tell anybody. Like, poor Sue Ellen literally has done nothing wrong. None of these characters have. And she's now being treated like a criminal as she's getting shot in the leg, getting tied down to a gurney, getting wheeled off as the ambulance gets pulled up, and they're basically implying that she is the one behind these murders. And like, looking at this poor girl, how are you gonna fucking think that? Like, look at her. She's so fragile, this poor little thing.
Yeah, well, Sheriff Scott calls for an ambulance, and then yeah, we get this moment where the ambulance pulls out onto the highway just as Chad and Owen drive right by it. And that's it. That's them. They're gone. That's their whole purpose in the movie. Good luck coming up with a justification for these two to be in this film, because let me tell you, one of the most worthless subplots I've ever witnessed in a film.
Yeah, it really it could have, even them showing up at the scene of the crime and it culminating in something, I would have been satisfied. But what happens here, she gets wheeled off. The sheriff shows up. He tells the deputy to stay with the bodies, that he's going to go in the ambulance to make sure that if she gives a confession, he's there for it. And the deputy even says, he's like, something about this isn't fucking adding up. And the sheriff kind of plays it off and gets into the ambulance with her, and you just see this like look of despair on her face. She's like, I just don't even know what to do anymore. And I'm just gonna say it leaves you on this note. And I like a cliffhanger, I do, but I really feel this fucker had something coming, and I really feel this girl deserved a moment of rising up against in the face of evil, having her name cleared, basically having somebody step in to defend her. And this movie is about to end on a freeze frame of Deputy Scott questioning things as he's given the wallet, as he's handed off the wallet, and he realizes the sheriff, who was never actually there at the scene of the crime when that was discovered, he was not there for it. So how is the sheriff's wallet there? And it clicks, but you never get what comes from it. And that, my friend, as great as this movie experience was, I feel a bit gypped.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger, and in my mind, I'm going to fill in the blanks with the fact that the deputy got off his ass and fucking chased that ambulance down and caught it in time before the sheriff killed this poor girl. But the way it's left, I doubt it. I think the sheriff like immediately probably killed this poor girl in the back of this ambulance, which how is he going to explain that? She was shot in the leg. Like, that's another thing.
Right. Well, and like, also, like, where this film leaves off, it's like there's sometimes where a cliffhanger is handled in a way that it feels like it still is wrapping things up, or it's leaving you on a note where you feel like, okay, I had some conclusion. But here, in my opinion, where the story leaves off at, it was still ripe for development. Like, you've got the ambulance. You specifically see the ambulance pass the guys up. Why can't the ambulance take out to the road right as the boys are driving by, and something happens where they get involved and the sheriff gets involved and he takes her hostage and the deputy is like, this could have been a really big fucking climactic ending, with a lot of stakes and a lot, I think, honestly, higher body count. But you don't get that. You get left with just this open-ended finale, and I just think this is a film that didn't need that. Like, this could have really had a strong conclusion, and it was a bold choice to make it so open-ended, but it is really leaning in the sheriff's favor, which is surprising to me, but leaves it feeling very bleak and very sad. And if that's what you like, if you're a fan of those kinds of endings, and I do appreciate that, it's not like it's bad. It left me personally wanting to see a conclusion that I didn't get.
I think he used the perfect word for the ending, bleak. It's definitely a bleak ending, a bleak film, the sense of helplessness with this poor girl in the back of the ambulance with this man that she knows is going to murder her because he murdered all of her friends. I mean, yeah, it's bleak. And I think it's kind of a ballsy ending too, because a lot of 80s films avoided now what has become a trope of the killer, the bad guy getting away with it. We've seen that become a popular trope in kind of like the last 20 years with films. You didn't really see that a lot in the 80s. The only other couple films I can think of that did that was like Madman, where they had the balls to kill off who you think were going to be the final girl and leave us with a sense of the villain won. But this is another one. Like, I think It's pretty, it's laid out for us to think that this sheriff is going to kill this girl in the back of the ambulance. Again, how he explains that away is beyond me. I mean, there's a lot of questions like, how, is the deputy going to confront the sheriff about why his wallet was left there? How are you going to play that off? I don't know. So in a sense, you have kind of a scale. You have two different weights here. You have the one where, yes, the sheriff probably does kill poor Sue Ellen in the back of the ambulance, but does that weigh heavier than the fact that the deputy pretty much knows that the sheriff killed these people now? So is he truly going to get away with it? Is he going to go back and is he going to kill the deputy? I mean, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions.
And that is the one thing, like at least ending on that cliffhanger, the shot they chose to end it on, that freeze frame of Scott, it definitely implies he now is realizing exactly what's up. And it does give me an element of hope that something would come from that. There's got to be something more to it. Because I do not think that Sue Ellen deserves to die. I don't, it's almost like a Black Christmas-esque ending. You have a really bad feeling about what's going to come for that character, but like in your heart, you really hope after what they went through, it doesn't. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that Sue Ellen made it out okay. My gut says otherwise, but I hope that Scott at least thought quick enough to act on it,
Yeah, let's hope. But that's how the film ends. Some people like it. The ending may piss some people off, but I mean, I think the experience going up to the ending or leading up to the ending of the film, again, as we mentioned, quite intense, edge of your seat. You want an edge of your seat thriller, and I was really impressed with a lot of the sequences they were able to pull off and some of the suspense they were able to build with such an obvious low budget. And I mean, again, it's a film that's kind of drenched in this sense of dread, helplessness, and again, I am surprised it's not talked about more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me too. I at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this film quite a lot. I get why you see the appeal in it, and exactly what you said to set me up for it. You said there's certain things you might have some issues with, but overall, I think it's going to surprise you, and it fucking did, man. And in ways I didn't expect it to, and especially in having a really interesting premise and strong antagonist that has some really great motivations for what he's doing, why he's doing what he does. This is a film, we've said it before, but this is a film that I wouldn't mind seeing be revisited. Only because I think there's story to expand upon. So, if there was a remake, almost like if you look at films like Last House on the Left, that remake really explored the character dynamics of the family further and so forth, and did something different. I wouldn't mind seeing something similar with this. But I do think this film really stands on its own, and I would love to see a greater appreciation develop for it because it's just a unique and chilling little low budget offering.
Well, great. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I seem to be, I seem to be able to pick these obscure titles, and I seem to be doing it right because I think you've enjoyed a lot of the ones I've chosen. So I am glad I got to expose you to this film. Listeners, if you've never seen this film before, you gotta let us know. What are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts on the ending? What do you think ends up happening? What about the characters of Owen and Chad? What the fuck was their purpose? Let us know. Let us know your thoughts.
Let us know, and let us know also what films you want to see us cover moving forward as well. Because Troy and I did just get through that film production, and we now have a lot of time on our hands. And once we get through the Houston Horror Film Festival, I think you're going to be getting a lot of material from us. And so we've got a lot of movies we want to cover, but it's been a minute. It's been a minute, and we're ready to jump back in it, and we want to make sure our listeners are satisfied. And so I would love to hear some ideas coming up from you guys for the next couple months, because we want to make sure you're getting exactly what you want out of this podcast experience.
Absolutely. We're going on 4 years. 4 years of doing this. Can you believe that? It's been a blast.
Oh my
It's
God.
been a blast.
A blast.
Yeah, but with that, I think, yeah, and I know at the end of our last episode, I think what was the dentist? Was that our last? I don't even remember. It's been so long since we've recorded an actual episode. I know we mentioned we were going to do the Rage Carry 2. That got put on the back burner for this episode, and I think it's going to be put on the back burner again because it's a film I definitely want to cover. It's just kind of the availability of it is a little bit limited. So we just have to make sure we're both going to be able to get, access to it. So I think we should put that on the back burner once again. Sorry to disappoint you, listeners. But I want you, Roger, to make the next selection, because I did throw Shallow Grave out at you at the very last minute, and you were such a trooper to be like, yeah, let's do it. I'll jump right in. So do you possibly have a suggestion for our next episode?
Oh, brother, do I? Do I? I think you're right. I think we know our niche, and it's obscure 80s, early 90s offerings. And so I've been offering a lot of more recent modern titles lately. I wanted to maybe go a little bit more retro. And I just wanted to get fucking stupid. Honestly, I wanted to do something that wasn't going to make my brain think. So next episode, we're going to be reviewing the 1987 horror classic that is Beaks the movie, starring one Christopher Atkins, who is also in another film that we covered featuring killer animals, Shockma. So he really has quite a resume under his belt, because this is obviously it's a film about killer birds. Have you ever seen Beaks?
I've never seen Beaks, Roger. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, get ready, because it's got a 3.6 on IMDb and 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, and when you see it, Troy, you're going to know exactly what you're getting into, and I think you're going to be thrilled. I think you're going to be really fucking happy.
I'm looking at the poster out right now. Yeah. Okay.
These women just running, getting attacked by birds. I can't wait. So I think this is the kind of light fare that we need.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. So yeah, guys, with that, Beaks the movie, be sure to check it out before our next episode and let us know your thoughts on Shallow Grave. And if you want to hear our thoughts on Long Legs and, the filming issues with Hollow Lake, join our patreon.com/Dark Night of the Podcast.
Yes, do it. Thank you so much. And to those of you who have given us 5 stars, we have seen our star meter climb recently. We've had a few more likes. We really appreciate y'all. Please don't be scared to hit that 5-star button. We need your support.
Absolutely. Until next episode, we will see you soon.
Good night.
Good night.